Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Jesse Hill and I'm the president of Tier 3 IT Solutions. Today we're going to have a short talk about cybersecurity audits and their importance, not just in terms of protecting your network and your business operations, but in maintaining compliance with your cyber insurance applications and policies. So the reason we want to talk about your cybersecurity as it relates to your cyber insurance and your business operations is that what we have found is that frequently businesses, small and medium business owners, think of these as three separate and distinct entities or operations, when in reality they all need to come together because your network design, your cybersecurity measures are going to directly impact the consistency, security, and stability of your business operations. Your cyber insurance broker and carrier are going to have very specific cybersecurity measures that you should be taking in your network. And we need to make sure that we can prove that those best practices have been followed in case you ever have to submit a claim. The reason is that when you fill out your application, you are going to be asked very specific questions. Things like, have you enabled multi-factor authentication on all cloud services? From a cybersecurity perspective, we always look at those questions and try to give as much advice as we can. And you want to be very clear when you check a box, either a yes or no, that you're able to explain why you've made that selection. Because anytime a question asks you whether you do it all the time, it's like saying, I always take the stairs instead of the elevator. Well, do you always? Right? And you see what I mean. So the thing is that the cyber insurance that you might want to get for your business, there's different types. There's cyber liability insurance, there's cyber crime insurance. And more, we're starting to see kind of a blurring of the lines between where one starts and where one ends. So you want to make sure that you are compliant with all of the requirements so that if you ever had to put in a claim, there's not a question about whether you did the things that you said you were going to. The other thing that cyber liability insurance could provide is third-party mitigations and business interruptions. And so you want to consider that the insurance that you're getting isn't just to protect you in the case of a cyber loss. It's to protect your greater business, your reputation, potential financial impacts. And so it really is a critical coverage that we would encourage you to talk to your broker about and to make sure that your IT department or IT partner is engaged in that process and understands that the questions on the cyber insurance application have relevance to the business operations and the cybersecurity posture of your business. So we talked about this a little bit already, the types of coverages that you can look for within a cyber insurance policy. But essentially the four main things you want to protect yourself against are a financial loss, the legal costs of managing a cyber incident, business interruption losses, and then the crisis management and support. So obviously each one of these has a very different impact in your business, and we'll kind of just touch on them really quick here. So the financial loss coverage, where we frequently see this is if somebody has fallen victim to a phishing attack, that they have wired money to an account that they shouldn't have, or there's been some type of loss around improper access to an account. These losses, they can be quite significant. And so when you're applying for your cyber insurance, you want to make sure that you've considered what those values of those transactions could be so that you have the appropriate coverage. Legal defense. This is something that can get incredibly expensive. And the reason is that most of the legal professionals who practice in this area They are essentially responding to crisis. And when you are in crisis and you need that legal support and advice, they're able to charge a premium, and it's a very specialized area of law. So you may not appreciate that in a cyber incident that's affecting your business operations, potentially some of your client information has been compromised. Maybe there's other implications, perhaps a ransom demand or something to that effect. It's not uncommon to see the legal component of a claim, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the size and scope of your business. The third one here, business interruption losses. When there is a cyber incident, one of the most challenging parts of it is, particularly when you get your insurance provider involved, is there's a conflict. You as a business owner, you probably want to get your business up and running and serving your clients and supporting your employees as fast as you possibly can. However, the insurance provider, they have a duty to their stakeholders to make sure that they are paying claims appropriately. So they're going to have a requirement to do an investigation. They may tell you to bring in a forensic analysis firm. They may actually dictate to you what steps you are allowed to take in terms of remediating from the cyber incident. And that can be at odds with what you would like to do. And the reason they need to do that is because they need to be able to verify whether the claim was legitimate, whether you did the things you were supposed to do to protect yourself. And they need to understand how that risk actually occurred and unfolded and caused this incident, because it's going to be a significant loss on their side if they need to pay out a claim. And then the fourth item on here is the crisis management and support. Now, when there's a cyber incident that's affected your business operations, potentially your company information, you're going to need to engage professionals in public relations. Again, the legal side of it is going to be very specific about what you can say, when, to whom. And so those services are, again, relatively expensive on a crisis management basis. So you want to make sure when you're talking to your cyber insurance broker that you've considered all of these, that you have appropriate coverages, and that your IT professional is participating in that discussion to help you get the best coverage. All right, let's talk really quickly about a cybersecurity audit. And this is an interesting topic of discussion because a lot of small and medium business owners, they don't understand or fully appreciate the complexity of the technologies that they use in their business. And they may have an IT department or an outsourced IT provider like us that's taking care of their network. Having an audit done, much like getting a financial audit, involves bringing in an independent, impartial third party to assess the systems, the configurations, and the controls within your network, to explore for any known risks or vulnerabilities, and to prepare a report so that you as a business owner understand the current state and position of your network. It's kind of an interesting exercise because a lot of IT service providers like us, we run those types of scans against our clients' networks. And in our case, we try to be as open and transparent as we can and let clients know if we find a problem that needs to be remediated. However, not every IT department, IT professional, and outsourced IT company feels the same way. If they've been paid to do a job and then they're paid to audit the job that they did, it takes a high level of integrity for somebody to point out a problem that they should have resolved or remediated. So in certain circumstances, it's really valuable for you as a business owner to get an independent outside third-party assessment. That way, there's an impartial perspective the person who's running the audit isn't the one who's responsible for having configured it. And when you present it and position it properly, it can be a highly valuable collaborative experience that helps you improve the cybersecurity posture of your business and ensure that should you ever have a cyber incident, that you have lowered your risk as much as possible, and that you should hopefully maintain compliance with your insurance policy so that you get coverage in the case of an incident. All right, what are a couple of the benefits of having a cybersecurity audit done? You can see them here. So first of all, when you do an audit, if you find a problem or a vulnerability, you're able to use that information to help strengthen your defenses. An example that I give all the time is, when you look at a computer network, let's imagine there's 100 computers on the network. Well, if you have prescribed a specific commercial grade antivirus, anti-ransomware protection should be deployed on all the computers. If you find one computer out of 100 is missing that protection, do you give yourself a 99% score or a 0? And we could debate about this in lots of different ways. If that computer happened to receive malicious software and cause an infection on your network, it'd be a 0. But the beauty of an audit is hopefully you find that, you're able to remediate it, you're able to bring your systems back up to standard. Identifying risks, the best way to put it is that you don't know what you don't know. And again, when you have an IT department or an IT company that's helping you, they're busy. They have other things going. They also have a limited perspective when they're looking at your network. And attackers, bad actors, they look for every single opportunity that they can get. So you want to make sure that you've got your bases covered in terms of patching and security and backups and policies and procedures and all those types of things. So an audit helps you identify those risks so that you can move into preparation phases to remediate them. The incident response component of an audit, this is really valuable because, again, when you think about planning a recovery from an incident, the first thing you need to know is, what do we have? Where is it? How important is it? How is it set up? Who has access? What kinds of controls and backups and support do we have? And so again, an audit is going to give you a detailed information about that. And you might be surprised sometimes to find out that you have information and tools and software in places that you didn't even know about. It's what we call shadow IT, and it is becoming a bigger problem as people find new apps and new integrations that they want to leverage. The last thing that a cybersecurity audit should do is it should help build trust. Even when we run audits against our own client base, if we find a problem, we want to bring that to our client's attention, and then we want to resolve it. And on the next audit, we want to show them that it's been resolved. And by going through that process, people understand this is an incredibly complex area of practice. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things that change day to day. And so we just need to make sure that we, as IT professionals and as small and medium business owners, that our technology is moving forward at a pace that is appropriate for our level of risk and the investments that we can make. And by recurring audits, we also are able to share that information with third-party vendors when they need to know whether we're living up to their expectations. Think cyber insurance, brokers and carriers, perhaps clients and vendor partners might want that information as well. Okay, let's talk about the impact of your cybersecurity practices and procedures and position against your insurance compliance. We've talked a little bit about this in the past. It's really important that when you are applying for your cyber liability insurance, that you fill out that application as accurately as you possibly can. So what I mean by this is that when we work with clients on the applications, we often see questions like, have you enabled multi-factor authentication on all cloud services? Well, it's impossible to say yes to that because not every cloud service has multi-factor authentication as an option. So you typically are going to answer no to that. However, you're going to need to put a note. You're going to need to explain that. If you put yes, you're going to need to put a note and you're going to need to explain that. Regardless of how you fill out the application, you need to be open and transparent with your cyber insurance carrier because ultimately when it comes time to, unfortunately submit a claim, you need to be in compliance with your policy, which means the coverages that they've extended to you have been done so based on that application. Now, in Canada, we do have some regulatory compliance frameworks and those types of things, but for most small and medium businesses, it's their insurance application that they need to be compliant with. If you're not compliant, you may not get coverage in the case of a cyber incident. And that can take what is already an incredibly challenging situation into an outright devastating scenario. It can be incredibly time-consuming, expensive, and disruptive when you suffer a cyber incident. And the thing about maintaining compliance with your cyber insurance is that they actually are looking for their clients to implement cybersecurity best practices. By doing the things that they have in their application, you actually will lower your risk in relation to your peers who have not done those things, which means that your business is going to be more stable, more secure, more operationally efficient. So it's important to maintain, that compliance between cybersecurity and your cyber insurance policy. All right, the last thing that we're going to talk about here is that when it comes to cybersecurity audits, assessments, penetration tests, whatever you want to call them, there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. And the reason is that there are very technical assessments and audits that look specifically at the internal network. They look for vulnerabilities and configurations and problems internally. There are externally focused ones that often you'll see insurance brokers and carriers execute. There are social engineering assessments and audits, which are focused more on your people and your processes. And then there are, policy audits where they're looking at, your incident response plans and those types of things, the documentation and training that you've created. So again, going back to this idea of having recurring ongoing reviews and audits, choose a different one each, on a recurring basis. Make sure that you're getting that holistic view. Cybersecurity is about ensuring you have layers of protections in place that are designed to lower your risk of suffering a cyber incident and shortening your recovery time in the case that something were to occur. Shortening that recovery time, lessening that impact is a big part of what your cyber insurance policy is designed to do as well. So the more you learn about cybersecurity, how it affects your business operations, how it affects your cyber insurance, the more you will proactively pursue these different types of audits and assessments. You'll learn more about how this technology is impacting your business and how you can protect it. Thanks again for joining today. My name is Jesse Hill. I'm the president of Tier 3 IT Solutions. We help small and medium businesses proactively manage, implement, and maintain the technologies that their businesses use. And if you have any questions about cybersecurity and how it relates to your cyber insurance, we'd be happy to chat. Please reach out. Thanks again. Have a great day.